What's up, graphic designers? In today's class, we're going to continue analyzing this poster featuring this Hulu original Future Man poster. There's a whole lot going on here. There's a whole lot going on in your posters. And we're going to learn a new tool and a few new tricks today. So let's jump right on in. The first thing that we're going to want to do is open up our PSD from yesterday, obviously. And here we got Charlie as Photoshop Dude. You'll notice that I got a pretty cool font. This is, of course, Lab Original. What you're going to want to do is you're going to go to font.com. I typed in Photoshop Man, and I went to the eroded fonts under themes. So if you click on themes, then under fancy, eroded, and there's so many like really cool fonts I would urge you to consider. In fact, I don't know what you guys do at home, but I just spend hours looking at all these different fonts. So let's return back to Photoshop. Let's eliminate the text momentarily, and as much as I really do care about Charlie, we're going to eliminate that blending mode, and we're going to eliminate Charlie, and I'm going to throw in somebody new. We're going to get my man Jonathan, and previously we've used the magnetic lasso. The magnetic lasso was great. However, one tool that we really can get the hang of using is something called the quick selection tool. So I'm going to left click the quick selection tool, and just like a paintbrush, it selects an area based on color and contrast, and it does take a little bit of getting used to. So I'm going around, I'm clicking, and I'm going to use the move tool. I'm sorry, hold down spacebar to shift to the hand tool to move down a little bit. Great, and so we're just making a nice pretty clean selection. Boom. And I can see that it went too far, right? So I'm going to change from the add to the subtract from selection, and we're going to eliminate this a little bit. It might take a little bit of finessing. All right, boom. All right, so it looks great. So there we go, Jonathan. I'm going to press Command C to copy. We're going to return to this image, Photoshop Dude, this time featuring Jonathan. So I'm going to bring him down some, and you'll notice that in the original image, we talked about this yesterday, that these characters, right, they're shaded blue on one side. The central character is shaded blue on the right side, shaded red on the left. How are we gonna execute this technique? I'm gonna reduce the size of Jonathan for just a moment. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up purple in the foreground. I'm gonna press B for brush, and I'm gonna increase the size of this brush to at least 200, maybe. Let's try 243, and hardness is all the way down at the 0. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to left click, and I'm painting over this, but it's going on to the background as well. It's not limited right here. And so now when we experiment with the different blending modes, oh, ladies and gentlemen, I made a huge mistake. So what we want to always do is create a new layer above for this very reason. You're learning, I'm learning. Let's not make that mistake again. All right, so we've got this new layer. We're painting this purple using the brush, and now we're going to experiment with the different blending modes, and this looks cool. But as we're going through and we're cycling to all these different blending modes, some look cool, some don't. We don't want it on the background. We want it limited exclusively to Jonathan. How are we going to do that? Well, if we hold Command, and actually I'll delete this layer. If we hold Command and we click on the thumbnail itself, you'll remember that it selects just the area of the thumbnail. So now when we paint, it's just on this Jonathan layer. And so I'll click right here. I'm going to click right here, just a little bit. And so now when we jump through, overlay, that looks kind of cool right there. Let's try multiply. That's a little dark. Let's try color. You guys are going to find one that works for you. For the time being, we'll just do multiply. Let's flip the colors once more, and so now what we can do is we can go like so. It's limited just to the Jonathan Yellen layer, and that looks kind of weird. I'm not really loving that, so I might go back, experiment with the different blending modes, experiment with the opacity. Let's experiment with Hamlin. All right, I'm going to hold Command. I'm going to click on the thumbnail, and we're just going to paint along the edge like so. Oops. Make sure that we're on a new layer. Alright, and it should be maybe a little something like this. And now, if we cycle through the different blending modes, we can see something that kind of looks cool. I think Vivid Light's cool. I think Hard Light's cool. You guys are going to find something that works for you. That's also kind of cool right there. In fact, if we press Command J and then we cycle through again, we can have blending modes on blending modes, and that's exactly what I'm doing right here. I'm really excited to see your use of blending modes. You're going to include lots of things in the background, lots of vehicles, text. This is, as always, a Lab Original project.